Well, a couple of developments today in the race for the leadership of the Conservative Party. Ontario Conservative MP Michael Chong, who had been thinking about a run for the leadership, has now decided he has ruled out a run for the job, making that announcement today. And today the race has its first declared candidate from Western Canada. Alberta businessman Rick Peterson, who finished 12th out of 14 candidates in the last Conservative leadership race in 2017, announced today he's running again with a promise to shake up the race. His promises include a flat income tax rate and ripping up environmental legislation brought in by the Liberals. He's president of investment company Peterson Capital, and he joins me now from Edmonton. Rick Peterson, thanks for being with me. Good to see you again. It's been a while since we had a chance to chat, but it's been a couple of years since we had a Conservative leadership race, so you're back. But let me cut right to the chase here, because I know that's what some people will be saying. Why does a guy who finished in 12th place in the last leadership race with less than 1% of the vote like his chances this time around?
You know, Peter, the news that you just announced on Michael Chong is really too bad, because Michael's got a lot to add. And finishing at the bottom half of the leadership race in 2017, I actually had a lot of good company. There were some very strong Conservatives who, because the size of the field that we had, there were probably people less than 5%, 6%, who were some very good, strong candidates with good ideas. Chris Alexander, Andrew Saxton, I thought had a great, economic plan. Stephen Blaney and Michael finished higher than I did.
But is that what you think makes it different this time? Just do you think it might be a smaller field?
Well, no, I'm just going to back up again. A better question would be, what has changed this year in terms of the race? The race is probably going to be 5 or 6 different people. But the big thing is that Michael and I, and maybe one or two others, were really running policy-focused campaigns in 2017. Didn't get a lot of airtime. In 2020, if you look at the platform that I took out this morning, the membership and the Canadian public is really looking for ideas that are going to move the party and the needle for Canada.
Rick Peterson, why do you think the race needs a Western-based candidate? If you look at it, the last two leaders, Stephen Harper, Andrew Scheer, and the interim leader, Ron Ambrose, they were all from the West. There are lots of Western MPs in the caucus. Some might suggest the party needs someone from outside the West this time to build the party. Is this a Western candidacy you're offering here, and is that why you're in?
There's a strong sentiment in Western Canada that we really need to be sure that concerns of Western Canada are reflected in our party and in government when we form a government next time. Rona Ambrose, a lot of us in Western Canada were hoping she was going to run, but when it became apparent that Rona decided to take a different path, my phone started to light up with calls from people who worked with me in the previous campaigns. And a little organization, Peter, that I helped start 2 years ago called Suits and Boots. And the Suits are industry people, capital markets people, and Boots are resource sector people across Canada. Called and emailed and said, hey, we need a Western candidate. So it's basically, we need to make sure that we have a grassroots representation from Western Canada in this race, and a race from a Western Canadian who is fluently bilingual. And I'm the only candidate who's fluently bilingual so far, and with some good, strong policy ideas. I haven't heard any policy ideas from Aaron or Peter so far. So our campaign launch this morning, Peter, responded very clearly and succinctly as to where we stand on key issues facing the party.
Okay, let's go through, if I can, let's go through a couple of them. I touched on some of them in the introduction. Where are you on a carbon tax?
Tax the large emitters. In other words, put carbon pricing on large emitters, like we have here in Alberta. The provincial government has called a technology innovation platform, which actually puts a carbon pricing mechanism on the large emitters that are producing GHG emissions. But we're axed the tax on individuals and small business who have very little measurable impact and who are in terms of the federal carbon tax, not major players. So yes, as a Conservative, Peter, I'm interested in pricing carbon. And the large emitters are going to come under a regime that is very similar to the one we have in Alberta.
All right, you talked about taxation as well today. And as I recall, when you and I talked a couple of years ago in the last race, I think you had the same platform when it comes to taxation, a flat income tax rate of 15% and cutting corporate taxes. Tell me about that.
3 years ago, Peter, in my campaign appearances, I was talking about Donald Trump's impending tax cuts and the fact that in Canada we would have to make up ground because the economic growth that would result from that in the U.S. would be very phenomenal. Look what happened. Look at the job growth. Look at the wage growth. Look at the productivity. Look at the job creation in the U.S. in the last 2 years. The S&P 500, the stock market's up 4 times. Canadian have fallen behind. The average Canadian, from what I read, Peter, is $500 away from not making the end of the month. How can that happen? So my tax cuts are designed to stimulate the economy, create jobs. Companies that no longer pay corporate income tax will pay dividends, they'll invest, they'll expand, they'll hire. Individuals will have less money coming out of their pocket, and they can use to consume and to buy and to be more active in the economy. Right. So tax cuts, and I'm just going to finish it if you have to let me finish this. Tax cuts are not designed just to be, making it easier for people to just go out and spend money. It's to stimulate the economy. It's to grow the economy. It's to create jobs.
Okay, so let me ask you, I mean, you talk about tax cuts, you'd rip up Bill C-48, the oil tanker bill, Bill C-69, the new environmental assessment rules. You'd focus on...
No. Rip up C-48.
Yeah.
But finish off the work on C-69. Finish off the work on C-69 so we rewrite it in a way that takes away political interference in the environmental assessment process.
Fair enough. Let's make sure we got your position straight. I appreciate that. You'd focus on carbon pricing on big emitters, but not individuals. Protect the rights of gun owners. I'm curious, how do you think that kind of policy offering sets you apart from a Peter MacKay or an Aaron O'Toole or a Marilyn Glad? Do they seem like standard conservative policies and principles?
Can you name me 3 policies that you've heard from those people, Peter, in the last week?
Well, we've heard them talk about writ large. They haven't actually come out with specific policies to that extent, but they're tax fighters. They're carbon pricing fighters. They want to protect gun owners, rightful gun owners, the same kinds of things you're talking about. How do you distinguish you from them?
Well, you know what? When I see policy ideas coming from them, Peter, happy to address that. So far, I've seen nothing.
Okay, the race now is in its early days yet, but it's going to happen quickly. It's being framed as a battle between red Tories and true blue Tories. Some would say Peter MacKay on that red Tory side and perhaps Aaron O'Toole on the true blue Tory. What are you?
I think that's an irrelevant question. I think that's an irrelevant debate. Red Tory, blue Tory, that's history, Peter. That happened 15 years ago. The Canadians who we're addressing right now are the 25-year-old software programmer for Shopify. Do you think she knows what a red Tory is? Do you think she cares what a blue Tory is? What she wants to find out is she got the ability to use her talent, grow her contribution to the company, and to expand Canada. The big platform, Peter, in my platform is we want to make Canada. We want to make Canada the most bold place where jobs are created, where creative disruption happens, where industry changes. Things happen. Why? Because of technology and people. So when we're talking about a Kenyan medical scientist, or we're talking about a researcher coming from the Philippines, do we ask them, are you a red Tory? Are you a blue Tory? They don't care. And until our party starts to talk about Canadians and the future of the Conservative Party, we're going to be stuck in, Aaron and Peter, quite frankly.
But you don't think you don't think there's a discussion around when those are terms that that people who've watched politics in this country for a long time use to frame different kinds of factions and parties. But do you not think there's an ongoing discussion in the Conservative Party on, for instance, social issues that have divided the party on abortion, same-sex rights, and those members of the party who think that's not an issue and shouldn't be up for discussion, that it's all been settled? Where are you on that? And isn't that a line of distinction between members of this party?
Under my leadership, the Conservative Party of Canada will not open the debate on abortion.
Will you stop MPs in the backbench from trying to bring? Will you stop MPs in the backbench from trying to bring forward those issues? Because they can do that through motions or private members' bills. Will you tell them, don't even try, I'm going to shut it down?
Well, I got to tell you, Peter, you cannot shut it down, but I'm going to tell you something. Any MP who is looking at doing that has to face a couple of consequences. Number one, to be relegated to the back row, right up against the curtains. Number two, any MP that does that on behalf of the Conservative Party signals to us that he really or she would really prefer to be in a minority backbench government position. Do you really want to do that? And number three, what that person is doing is that person is going to find himself or herself a very small, irrelevant member of the caucus. So you have to take into account consequences for that. Everybody around the table is open and respectful to ideas. But when you're focused on moving the party and the country in a bold direction, you have to take into account this is a team. This is the focus of the team, and this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to make it very clear, Peter, very clear, that this will not happen under my leadership.
All right, Rick Peterson, into the announcing his candidacy today for the Conservative Party leadership. Good to talk to you, and I know we'll talk again. So take care, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Peter.